It's manly. Maybe you should title the cast like all balls. Every ball.
Every ball.
Every ball in the court. We have it.
I'm gonna title oddball, ball, every ball.
This is amazing.
Hello, Drunk Duckers, and welcome to the QUACKCAST. This is QUACKCAST number 574. There's an ocean, and with me is hello, Tance.
Hello. Sorry, I completely zoned out. I'm really not myself today. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. It's like
No worries. Well, Tance Serene was serene, but not very classy.
yeah. Tansy and Serene.
So this week we're chatting about what could be the title for this one? I'm not sure. It's being an oddball. I think that's it. Happy to be an oddball. It's good to be an oddball. So the idea was that Bravo 1102 posted about an experience he had looking at the Bad Webcomic Wiki, and he was just having a bit of fun scrolling through there, but one of the criteria for a bad webcomic was to be hosted on Drunkduck. And he thought, oh my goodness me, oh dear, and took all of a quiver, and then came to Drunkduck to post about this, and everyone actually, had a bit of a say about it. It was a really good kind of discussion about, the idea of people like arbitrarily listing things as bad webcomics, or actually being a criteria for bad webcomics, and actually coming to terms with why we actually are on Drunkduck and our own feelings about our own work and all that kind of stuff. So it was actually quite productive and interesting. So we'd like to share that with you now, and talk about how it is to be an oddball on the net and do oddball work, and how it's like to come together on a place at Drunkduck where all the oddballs can find somewhere to fit in and be promoted and supported.
Well, not just oddballs, everyone. I mean, oddballs, non-oddballs, I don't know what the opposite of that would be.
Norm-balls?
Non-balls, all the balls.
Yes, exactly. All of them. We're very accepting. Yeah, everybody can come on here. So, before we get into that, gotta bring up the featured comic. Featured comic this week was a feature that QUACKCAST did. And QUACKCAST is going to now tell us about Atom Man. So, Quai, give us Atom Man.
Hello, this is QUACKCAST, and the feature I've selected for this week is Atom Man by Gus B. Green, and it is rated M for mature. The rent is due, Atom Man. There is no time to sleep all day while a big robot destroys half of downtown. Time to get ready and fight a metal cyclops. Later in the evening, the news features an explosion at Centra Tech, a power research facility, and its CEO, Simon Grange, conveniently glosses over any mention of Atom Man in the reports. It appears that it is time to, once again, move on to the next adventure, bowling. The art is sketched out and painted digitally, handwritten text bubbles, vivid, clear, and bright color palette. Find out if Atom Man will pay Benny, the landlord, a fair share of rent, and read Atom Man by Gus B. Green, rated M.
And that was the featured comic, Atom Man. Okay, next up we have the featured music. Gummalls has given us the theme to a comic called Lunatic's Tale. A Lunatic's Tale. So, quick step and tap, tap, tap your foot into this funky conversation between instruments. The light chatter of electric guitar, the sensible burble of bass, loud interjections of trumpets, bombastic quips by the percussion, finishing with an intriguing conclusion from the synth. So take it away, Gum Wallace, with A Lunatic's Tale. And that was A Lunatic's Tale by the actual comic writer is called Beck Keep. It's rated T. So thank you very much for that, Gum Wallace. Okay.
Thank you.
He's always coming through for us, even on the busiest times when COVID is ravaging New Zealand and poor old guy has to be, being the house mum and dad and looking after everyone there. He's doing a great job giving us this music, these themes. So, all right, oddballs. Well, all right, let's give it a little bit of a background here. The Bad Webcomic Wiki was something that was popular many years ago now. Something like over 10 years ago. So the idea was, people would be entertained by going to that and going, ha 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 ha, look at the bad webcomics, ha 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 ha. It's so funny.
I think I can see like the sound effects to that, like if it was a manga, like
exactly. One of those like the stuck up little rich princess girl who goes
yeah.
Oh dear. So yeah, that's what it was like. So people would go to there to sort of to laugh at comics that were being roasted and saying, "Oh, this is a bad webcomic that I found here." Ha ha ha. And that was a kind of entertainment. Like Chance, you were telling us about it in the video, the fad of roast culture, which was quite popular back then. Yeah, so that's what it was about. And so Bravo went and had a look at the wiki that they have, and it lists the criteria of, now you might be a bad webcomic if, and one of the criteria was hosting on a site like Drunkduck, or hosting on sites like Drunkduck. And basically what that meant was free webcomic hosts that will let anybody come along. So along with us, the people like Comic Fury, Smack Jeeves, Keen Space, and then it became Comic Genesis. And I don't know, there's a few like us. Or maybe, I don't know, posting your comic on Tumblr or DeviantArt or something like that. So all those kind of alternatives. Basically, anybody can do it. There's no gatekeepers, there's no curators, and anybody did do it. So there was a huge variance of quality. So that's why they sort of listed it there. But what Bravo took from it, and what all these people who commented in this lovely little forum post that Bravo started took from it, that we took it as a kind of way of evaluating ourselves and sort of reacting against like a common threat. which happens. Like everyone comes together to sort of rally around and go, yeah, well,
Bats
actually,
flock together anyway. So
yeah, exactly. They flock together and they fly in a great big V for victory. So yeah, we came together like to face a common threat, as you do. We don't really consider Bad Webcomic Wiki as a comic threat. We know it was like basically a kind of entertainment or whatever. It's really no harm, but it's fun to actually have something like that to come together and have a common purpose and relate, and then talk about our own experiences. So that's what we did. And it was rather interesting. There was a lot of like nasty things said about Bad Webcomic Wiki. So what? I'm sure there's way worse things being said about that in the past. And they've said much worse things about the webcomics they criticize. So whatever. That's par for the course of a comical roasting critique site. That's just what happens. You live by the sword, you die by the sword.
It is. I think by now I would say that in its own right, it is a dinosaur of a previous era where you could make a name for yourself by basically roasting and attacking creations of others rather than needing to create something yourself. So that was a quick and easy way to get popular. Because it is entertaining, or at least it used to be entertaining, to see someone being roasted. And when I say, because I think a definition is warranted, like what I think when I hear the word roasting is like malicious critiquing. Like malicious though, not actual feedback or even commentary. So you had, especially, I mean, there was this, I think also in movies there was this culture of like, oh, okay, let's go roast the bad movie and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, there are tons of bad movies out there, but it was, and it still I think remains, a pretty easy way to gain an audience if you find quote unquote fun ways to roast, or at least it was. I think currently the approach is more constructive than it was before. I mean, at least the channels that I watch that critique movies and had started originally like bordering on the bad roasting, like roasting, really roasting, like limit over there. They don't make fun of the movie. They just comedically present a more or less balanced review. And I think that is a lot more entertaining, at least for me, than see someone, being constantly attacked because, the someone is looking to make a buck of his back, in a sense.
Exactly. It's actually more entertaining when the reviewer actually likes what they're reviewing. Even if, like, there's a review site that I watch at the moment quite a lot, Red Eye Reviews, and he does comedic reviews of action films mainly. He started doing them with Steven Seagal because, during the COVID time he didn't have much else to do, so he thought he just started a channel about watching every single Steven Seagal film in order.
Oh my God.
He thought he'd subject himself to that and do a comedic review of every single one. So he had hardly any viewers, and then he just exploded and became super popular. But he actually likes the things that he's reviewing. And he critiques stuff that genuinely should be critiqued, or, makes fun of stuff that is genuinely funny. Because, Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal is a cult figure.
And he's sort of moved on since then to do other ones like Chuck Norris and Van Damme and people like that as well. you know, these action movies where people took themselves very seriously. And but the thing is, he does it well. He loves what he's reviewing because he's looked at so many of them, and he's tropes that he likes to watch, and it's not hate, and he's not just saying, "Oh, Steven Seagal's such a fat, fool." He's not doing that kind of stuff. He's doing it in a friendly, good-natured way, which makes it more interesting to watch. And that's where roast culture really kind of came from. Was I think it was a really popular thing in the 1950s, 1960s, where comedians would have a roast. So it would be like a charity event. So they'd have a guest speaker who would be the person to be roasted, and all these friends who would be fellow comedians would come out, and they would say nasty things about him in a comical way, but they were nasty things that would come out of love for that person. So would be like jibes at the person's expense, but they just wouldn't be like fully nasty. Yeah. And that was really where roasting started, where it sort of got the the name, because it would be done at a roast. So you'd have a roast, like some kind of food that you eat, but also they'd be roasting the person kind of figuratively as well. And that is, I think, actually having it come out of a place of love and genuine kind of affection for it is where these good kind of roasts, like Red Eye Reviews, they succeed. People who are doing it more maliciously and just doing it to make fun of a thing, like almost like a bully kind of makes fun of something, that's not so entertaining. That's why I've never found that bullshit like The Voice or one of these stupid contest shows where people have musicians coming on and then they're critiqued in a rude way.
Painful. Yeah, that's so painful.
It's useless.
I remember, during quarantine, when you get really desperate, I tried to watch a couple of episodes of Next Top Model. Unfortunately, we have that over here.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't really talk because I do watch MasterChef. I really like MasterChef in general. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with it. Let's put it that way. So I watch it. But I tried to watch the Next Top Model one. And it's, at least the way it is done over here, it is unwatchable because they are not really given feedback on how to improve in the modeling, for example, or how they look or how to improve their looks. They just are constantly attacked in a way that breaks confidence, in a way that completely ruins this person for all the world, for all Greece to see. And it's like watching someone being tortured, like public ridicule. And that is so malicious. I felt embarrassed watching it, which is really something that I rarely feel. Whereas, the one that I watch, MasterChef, they never do that. They don't tell them like, "Oh, you are such a, excrement cook. How dare you be here?"
It's one of the reasons why people like Gordon Ramsay, because he attacks people. Usually, I think he has this show that where he comes into a kitchen and he tries to knock them into shape.
For me that's unwatchable as well, because I like cooking shows, if you haven't guessed. But yeah, I hate these personal attacks. Like, that's unwarranted, and it doesn't make you look better, man. I mean, personally, I really don't like Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah,
I feel that
it doesn't float my boat either. But a lot of people worship Gordon Ramsay for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they like the idea of the power idea. Someone who looks powerful because they're able to criticize others and be in charge and make them cower, and they think, that's a powerful person. I like him. That's an idea of power. It's like
that's what, for me, that's disgusting. Like people that have power and abuse it by punching down on others. For me, that's like really it triggers my vomit response. Honestly, I cannot really watch it. Well, I cannot watch him either.
It's like a sergeant kind of power too. It's like, it's not really something that's interesting to me. Yeah, like you got a drill sergeant. Shape up and ship out, blah 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 blah. Whatever. Like that's a kind of a menial person. That's the way they exercise power in order to get someone to do the right thing. Like menial, who has power over an even more menial person. Like whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so we're talking about comics. Thing. And one of the things that really came out of this, this forum thread, was the idea of, Drunkduck. Yeah, sure, we're a place that accepts like all kind of levels of artwork, and we don't have any criteria for that. Like you couldn't be doing stick figures or captions on photos or whatever, or you can be doing really beautiful, absolutely finished work. It doesn't matter. We accept everybody. So we are kind of like we like to consider ourselves like the heavy metal of webcomics, and in that I don't mean the music genre. I mean the comic magazine, where it had all kinds of different comics with no particular look to them. They weren't kind of a unified look. They were just all different looks. They were all different styles. They could be really, really sexy and hardcore, or they could just be, more kind of standard action or comedic. They could be really cartoony or realistic. All sorts of different styles. And that's what Drunkduck really does support. So we have all kinds of different comics on our site, from all different quality levels, but all sorts of different looks on our site as well. And we love all of them. We take them all under our wing. And often a lot of these kind of different weird comics, even though, they could be like super polished and beautiful, they haven't got anywhere else really to promote themselves, because most comic hosts online aren't that accepting of different styles and weird styles of work.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to find much traction on Tapas or Webtoons with something that really doesn't fit in with the overall style, because people go there to look at comics with a particular style, because that's what everything else is, and they tend to promote comics that have that particular style. So that's it. Yeah. So it becomes, like, in a self enforcing way, very homogenous. They don't deliberately set out to be that way. It just happens.
Yeah, I think that, to me, these sites come across a lot more like sort of publishers rather than hosting sites, in the sense that a publisher will gatekeep and I say that because I am a publisher, and I wouldn't print just about anything, as would accept in Drunkduck anyone. Why? Because I want to have a specific profile and style and feel to my publishing house. So people know that when they see my logo, they know what to expect and what they come for. So I think that these hosting sites are really approximating the style and the position of a publisher a lot more than actually just being hosting site. Like, they let you upload your stuff there, but you will be bottom of the barrel. You will not be promoted in any way. You will never see the landing page, and you will basically sort of wait to see if you are discovered by other quote-unquote weirdos that actively look for your sort of thing there, and they wouldn't really easily get to that site to find, for example, if you have like a magical princess romance manga style comics as your main thing, someone looking for a hardcore, gritty, a really messy war comic, for example, will not go to that platform to look for it. I mean, why would they expect to find it there? So you get that sort of thing. And I think that these kinds of hosting sites just simply, let's say, are going through a process like regression to the mean, regression to a more publisher-dominated area for webcomics, as it is for print comics, rather than like free for all, like put it out there and we will give you your fighting chance to gain your audience and build your audience, as we do on the Duck. So
we do, yes. So there are different pressures at work on those sites, but that means that there's not so much variation, which you really do notice on those kind of things. You want something different, it's not there. Look, on Drunkduck we have or the Duck, whatever you like to call us, we have the featured web comics, and also things like the top 10, which do curate in some ways. So the features, there are only certain comics that can be featured. They have to fulfill a certain criteria. So they have to have above 15 pages. That's not that much of a criteria. They have to be recently posting. They cannot be adult in nature. They can't be fan comics either. And they have to be like show excellence in art or writing. So either one of those two things. So they have to be really, really good examples. But even though there are those things, and they have to sort of like tickle the tastes of either me or QUACKCAST, who do the features. So they have to be something that appeals to us. But even so, we try to be very varied in that. We don't always show the same thing. Like we wouldn't always show manga or like a comic strip or an action comic story or something realistic. We try to, just go the full gamut.
Yeah.
As long as it has good writing, good art, or it shows a lot of high consistency in the work and potential. So sometimes I'll feature something just because I can see great potential in it. So not necessarily the best writing or the best art, but I can see that it's going to be. Well, I think that it's going to be anyway, and I want people to get on board, to be able to follow it for when it, inevitably does.
Yeah.
So there are those kind of things.
And you do take recommendations. I mean, I have recommended comics for, to get on the waiting line for feature a lot of times, and you have done the feature.
Yeah.
So the thing is that the criteria are not style, genre, or type, if you like, specific. They have to simply be a comic that has potential and promises to keep on going, rather than be something that will leave the readers dead in the water because it will never upload again or something like that. And as far as the rating goes, it's just because it is the landing page and everyone lands there. So the one thing that we need to avoid in order to remain, searchable and stuff like that, is to have it suitable for everyone while on the landing page. Beyond that, it's up to you. You enter at your own risk wherever you go.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't be seen to as well, because okay, so the features show up on Facebook and Twitter. You still post them on Twitter, don't you? Yeah, so it's on Twitter,
Yeah.
it's on Instagram, everywhere. So that's another reason why we can't sort of show the adult stuff.
Yeah.
Although,
Yeah. Or we would be, like, not banned necessarily, but we could even be banned
we could get into trouble.
nowadays. Yeah.
Although, like I will, like, post about adult webcomics for my fashion spotlight,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not really promoting the comic so much as promoting like a character in the comic.
Yeah, but
And
it is also promotion of the comic, actually.
yeah, it is, but that's not the main thing about it. And
Mm-hmm.
I will have lots of warnings if I ever do an adult webcomic, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, one of the reasons why I did the whole fashion thing is so I can promote comics that don't fit in the feature criteria, because the feature criteria does knock out quite a few webcomics, especially webcomics who aren't updating anymore. So it's not
Yeah.
like, fair enough, the feature, we want to send people to a comic that's actually going to make more pages, but for the fashion feature I can promote comics that are really
Anything.
slow to update, yeah, or not updating anymore, or whatever. And even adult webcomics that can't find promotion any other way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a helpful thing for those. But look at
Yeah.
the top 10 is a different thing. So that is a list of comics that stays on the top level of the front page, well, below the features, and that is by comic views, pretty much. So they're getting a lot of views. It shows people the comics that get a lot of views. So there's usually a reason they get a lot of views. People like them, so you might like them too.
Yeah.
So
And you also get to the front page when you update. When you update, your comic is featured in the just updated or just.
True.
Yeah. So you do get regular chances to be at the front page and get new eyes on your comic, on your title. And also we have so many activities that we do, maybe on and off nowadays. Like, for example, we have the Drunkduck Awards, which is a staple. I don't think anyone else does something like that. That basically is for anyone and everyone. There is no exclusion for anything, except the only thing is that you have to have updated at least once in the last 6 months, I think, or 3 months, something like that. That's the only inclusion criteria. And there you have it. You can have the community get to know a lot of new comics, and there are a few comics that I learned about that way. I mean, by having to judge them as a judge.
Yeah, the awards are an amazing thing. They've been running for years and years and years. We've had some years where they hadn't, for whatever reason, but yeah, it's been running for a long time. So it's a great community project where everyone gets together and promotes comics and looks at comics and reads them. So it's an amazing little thing. It's way better than the Oscars, the Emmys, or crap like that.
Yeah, we have also like showcasing events like the red carpet, because it is like the Duck Oscars in a sense. But at least the runner-up list is completely democratically compiled, because it is by vote of anyone who is a Drunkduck member. So you don't get gatekeepers, like a bunch of old guys around the table deciding who gets to have a chance at an award. So yeah,
you can't lobby Academy members.
No,
for your comment to be
no.
And Disney is not going to kick you off the your category of the
No.
Drunkduck Awards because they want to like exclude animation, short animation. I think that's what Disney's excluding now, or ABC. Or
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, they are like the Thanos of filmmaking lately, anyway. So
They are. Oh, how apt! Because yeah, they brought Thanos to life. Well, yeah. So we have a lot of ways that we promote comics, and we support the excellence of comics. So even though we have, like we said, people with all different levels of skill, this isn't just a site where we will show the worst webcomics. Not the worst. That's the wrong title. I'm going into the whole becoming part of the bad webcomic wiki. We don't show ones with like really low skill levels in artwork and story. And just promote those as part of the site. Those are on here, and we give those people who have less skill, we give them a place to host a webcomic, and sure, they can promote their comic as much as they like, and they can get readers just as much as anyone else, and they have a chance to grow. But just as much as any other site, we promote the ones that are looking really good and showing a lot of skill, a lot of potential, because that helps. We know those will get readers, those really need readers, and that will help support those ones to show their level of excellence, and that also helps promote our website further on the web to other people who might want to read a really good webcomic. So it's all about that kind of promotion. But that doesn't mean we hate or we don't like the comics that don't have that kind of professional kind of polish to them. We love them on our site, just like any other webcomic, and it's really great when those people are given a chance to get better and improve, and then they too can become polished at their craft and be doing great work. Like we said on the video, we've had plenty of people starting on Drunkduck and going on to Hollywood to be to do movies and to go and work at Marvel and DC. I've had a lot of people who started out at our comic site and gone off to work in the professional entertainment industry. People who've started here, gone to work at Rockstar Video Games, for goodness sake. All sorts of amazing things. So
also, in the Drunkduck Awards, one of the longest standing award categories that we have is biggest improvement over time. So,
well, yeah.
There's a reason it's there.
Yeah, we do support growth on the site, which is good. You start as a little egg, you'll grow into a little duckling, and then you'll be a great monster drake.
Yes. A duck egg.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll be like, we've been around 20 years at this stage. 20 mother frickin' years we've been around. So we've been around longer than some of our members have been alive on this earth. We've been around when people have gotten together through our website, have had children, and their children have gone on to be on our site. That has happened.
That's amazing.
We've had people growing up as little kids, using our site as kids, and then becoming adults and coming back to us. So this is just wow.
And the biggest thing is that we are a flock in the sense, like, not like a church. We're not a cult. But the thing is that we want to nurture people to find their artistic self and actually find who they truly are and who they want to be, rather than try to emulate who other people are in order to find themselves promoted and stuff. So being on the duck, you will find an extremely supportive community that wants you to succeed. We do not punch down. We do not like telling people that they suck, because guess what? We all sucked at it at some point. And sometimes we do still suck at it. Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of art. There is always going to be something you suck at in art. Like, always.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the idea is that, and anyone that approaches young people or new people that just enter art with a holier than thou, oh, how dare you enter in my realm, sort of thing. Like, who dares enter? Like, who do you think you are in the first place? And even assuming that you are someone that has some kind of official great recognition in your art, the biggest recognition is being able to support others to become like you. That's in my opinion at least, the true definition of someone who is great at their art. Yeah, that's why I like it a lot.
I like what you said about you don't have to emulate one particular style in order to be popular. So that's what you really do see on, Tapas or Webtoon. You tend to see a lot of people emulating other people in order to get ahead. And what you used to see on Smack Jeeves a lot was, oh, I better do another girl or boy love comic in the manga style in order to get ahead. And you had a lot of those. So I think people had tried to do that many, many, many years ago in Drunkduck history, way back in the early days, like 2003, 2004, when Charby found itself at the top of the top 10 list and would just never leave. That was so popular. You had a few webcomics that were doing the Charby style. And you had people who liked Charby, came to the webs, came to DD to look at Charby, and then they'd think, I wish there were more webcomics like this. I want to see more Charbys. So that you did have that kind of thing that was kind of starting to perpetuate, but then it kind of fizzled out because, Charby is Charby. It's just awesome as it is. It doesn't need copycats. And those other people sort of realized, hang on, there's all these other webcomics doing all their own thing. Why do I need to copy Charby when I could do my own thing as well? So then they started doing their own thing. And
besides, if you have like a look at the top 10 even now, I mean, and at any given moment, you always have someone like Charby being at the top 10 because they have earned it. They are awesome. But if you take a look at the top 10, there is such big diversity on what is at the top 10. You get variety comics, action comics, fantasy, comic strips. You get science fiction and the slice of life. Yeah. So and the styles are completely different.
Yeah.
And they are all very popular. So
they are, yeah. It's glorious. So we are accepting of all sorts of stuff, and we love that. That's what I love about doing features. Ever since I realized, hang on, I don't have to do the same kind of comic to make it a feature. I can just branch out and look at all sorts of different things, and I like to do that. I like to make the features varied. We don't just show like colored comics, for instance. They can be solid black and white or in grays or use half tones. They can be like Bravo's comic, which has been featured, which is photos of action figures and dolls that are dressed in costumes and with photographed against handmade sets with text underneath. We've got collage comics that are cut out bits and put together. Sprite comics, or pixel art, I should say. Pixel art comics that have been featured. Stick figures, even. As long as the writing's good enough.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of webcomics. You don't need, you have so many styles, you have so much variety. It's one of the mediums where there is almost limitless potential on what you can do and how to depict things. So why limit yourself to just one? And that's the irony about this original criterion that started all this discussion, it is bad if it is hosted on the Duck or whoever. So we are trying to build a culture where gatekeeping is considered bad for society, right?
Yeah.
Don't have how dare you gatekeep XYZ space? But then you also have, ironically, and I think that this produces a lot of cognitive dissonance as well. Then you have we have to gatekeep to keep quality up, as if, and that, in my opinion, also implies that you do not trust the audience to just naturally gravitate towards quality stuff. Why do you need to quote unquote protect your audience? They know what they like. They will go to what they like. Whatever becomes popular is what the people want. Why are you gatekeeping it? What's the issue?
Yeah, exactly. We're not doing that on Drunkduck, and we don't need to. It would be counterproductive for us to do. It really would be counterproductive in every sense. Because, maybe some people might think, but if you only have a particular style of comic shown on your front page, instead of all the comics able to be shown on the front page, then it'll show that you've got a certain level of quality. And then people will look at that webcomic site as being, oh wow, this is a high quality thing, so I really would want to put my work and be shown amongst such elite comics. That kind of thing's just bullshit. Or they might look at it thinking, oh wow, all the webcomics are going to be high quality, so I better read this. Because no, you look at our front page, we've got all variations of stuff, and people can see for themselves what are really popular. They can check those out, and then they can check a bit more out. And the real hidden secret to being a popular comic isn't showing up on someone's front page anyway. The secret is self-promotion. And we're just a host. Anybody can host their webcomic with us. What you've got to do really is go out there, promote your webcomic on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, Twitter, any site you feel like, Snapchat, I don't care. And that's the way you're going to get readers in. That is the way to make it work.
Yeah, and we will do our best as a hosting site to give you a leg up. That's the point. That's the idea, and that's I think that should be the epitome of a hosting site. Either just let things happen freely, completely freely, in the sense of the people will choose, audiences will choose, or if you want to make an intervention, quote unquote, just give everyone tools, help them to reach that audience. like, and which also helps the audience in the sense that we don't really live in times where we have time to really search. So helping others get in front of their potential audience is what a hosting site should do, and that is the only thing that a hosting site should do. Otherwise, you really get into publisher territory. You become a publisher without, like, you do the gatekeeping a publisher does, but you also want to come across as being what? Not a publisher. You don't have the risks of a publisher. I don't know. Yeah, that irks me a little bit now that I think about it.
Well, I mean, a good example of that kind of bullshit is what happens way back in the day, in the primordial times of webcomic hosting sites. So, I mean, we talked about it before. There was KeenSpot and KeenSpace. So I think it started out as KeenSpace, which was this great idea for free webcomic hosts, just like Drunkduck, and they were there, open to all. And then they sort of had this idea of, hang on, we've got some really, really good webcomics here amongst all the dross. Let's call this KeenSpot. And the KeenSpot webcomics were the really good ones. And they had to be invited to be part of the KeenSpot group.
To the cool club.
Yeah. And then they had it so all the KeenSpot artists who were already part of the KeenSpot group would all get together, and they would they would have a discussion. Oh, can this guy be invited to be part of our group? I don't know. Oh, this girl? I don't know. No, let's vote this one down. Let's vote that one down. So they could, if they didn't like someone, they could all get together and exclude them from their group, regardless of quality. So it was very much an elitist thing. So then you had a two-tier system. You had the KeenSpace and KeenSpot, and they were separated. And what happened was that the KeenSpot people were finding that, hang on, our names are really close, KeenSpot, KeenSpace. We don't want to be associated with this shit here in the KeenSpace group. My God, this is very much, we need to differentiate ourselves. So they changed the name of all the people who'd been happily hosting with this great little community on KeenSpace. They loved it. They had a lot of good time there. They were starting out and hosting their webcomic KeenSpace. They had their name forcibly changed to Comic Genesis. So you sort of, like, you're getting a clue from the name, Comic Genesis. So these aren't good webcomics. This is the Genesis. These are the comics at the early stage. These are being born. And it was completely different from KeenSpot. So you couldn't get these two confused, even though they're run by the same people and hosted on the same servers and everything like that. They were completely differentiated. So that just left such a bad taste in the mouth. I mean, my God. If you didn't want to be associated because there was a two-tier system already, you certainly didn't want to be associated with them for that kind of behavior. That was quite off. I mean, and when I say this, okay, it sounds as like if I absolutely hate the KeenSpot guys and all that. I really disliked what they did, but the people who ran the site, yeah, they were great people. This was, a good webcomic host like any others. The elitism within that idea of the setup, I hated. I did not like. But the actual people, they were cool. People who had KeenSpot comics, they were cool. I'm not saying those people were dickheads or anything like that. No, they were great comicers, doing what we're all doing. They weren't essentially elitist people. It was just the system that was that, which I didn't like. So yeah, no hate against Comic Genesis or KeenSpot. It was just the system. Okay, I just want to put that out there. was
Yeah,
just...
absolutely. I generally think that, especially when it comes to art, art is so subjective. There are things that I would never consider quote unquote good art, in the sense that it is not mainstream, it is not very rendered, very finished work. You can see obvious mistakes in the art, but it has such life, it is so visceral, it draws you in, and the moment, and if it manages to make you look past all the imperfections, let's say, and make you follow a story and immerse yourself in it, that's super successful. That's what the comic should do. That's the only criteria, in my opinion, that makes a comic good. And that might mean that you might have excellent art, gorgeous to look at, but you cannot get into the story, or it throws you out of the story for some reason. And then that for me is not actually a good comic. It is awesome art though, and I will go look at it. So yeah.
Yeah, there's
I would still not gatekeep it though. I mean, why gatekeep awesome art in the first place? And even if it's bad art and it doesn't draw you in, I wouldn't gatekeep it, because people will give feedback on the duck at least, and the person will improve. It's a given.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, back in the day, we used to have criticism on the site that there was a bit of a constant, there was a culture of like slapping each other on the back kind of thing, like, you know, like enforced friendliness or enforced niceness, and some people didn't like that. And the idea was because of the way the site was set up back then, in that you had to like vote people with a 5. So we had like ratings on pages when they would come up, and if you rated anybody below a 5, that comic wouldn't be able to show up on the front page. So it would kill someone's chances. So you had to give everyone 5s, or else you'd sink them. And that kind of engendered this kind of culture of trying to be really nice, because if you weren't nice to someone and you gave them a bad rating, they could come back and give you a bad rating. So that could, but that created this kind of really kind of precious culture where people would be trying to be not nice because they really wanted to be nice, but, you know, extra nice because of, you know, something bad might happen. And you had a bit of reaction against that, and you had other people going, oh, let's do the honest reviews, like, we don't like this kind of being nicey, let's just lay it all out there and just be completely honest. And so you had that kind of stuff back in the day. But fortunately, it's sort of like, you know, you made that comment about regression to the mean, you were talking about style, but that also happened here with the niceness. Eventually all that extra niceness faded off, and the extra meanness and, oh, let's be honest, you know, under the guise of honesty, people were allowed to be mean to each other. That kind of faded away, and people were just regressing to the mean, and it just turned out to be, oh, we're actually nice after all. So they weren't extra cultish nice, they were just normally nice. Anyway.
Yeah, I think in general, we hit, I don't know how this happened, but I think it is like a small but really significant miracle that keeps on going, that we get a community of people that are positive, like net positive, let's say. And I remember this sort of wave of people like, oh, I'm going to tell it like it is. Again, it was during that period where, like, oh, I'm being honest, and in reality they were just being acerbic and really like maliciously mean. I don't know how not be maliciously mean, but you know what I mean. They just went out of their way to be mean
Yeah.
to a creator. And they sort of were like, it felt a little bit the way that this petered out on the duck. I think it felt a little bit like the organism when you get a splinter in your finger or something, and your own body pushes it out, and it heals. And I think that's what happened a lot, because I remember that there were people going around studiously giving people negative reviews, and when I say negative, I mean negative reviews, saying I'm going to be honest with you because I'm such an upstanding guy, and I'm going to teach you to have a thick skin and stuff like that. Like, I remember these lines a lot. But then you get other people, not necessarily the fans of the particular comic, but generally other people coming in under this comment that was left on a page and stuff, and say that okay, this is not accurate. You are not like your feedback, quote unquote, is not actually helpful because such and such and such, and that you had a pretty nice conversation. That it was not what the reaction that people that did this were looking for, so they left. Or they changed, either or.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, in the end, it's not so great to be ripped to pieces. It isn't. I think a lot of them just wanted someone to actually look at their work to get some feedback at all.
Yeah, that was also something. and some people got a lot more comments just because others went and to tell the negative commenter that you are full of crap and stop doing that. So it worked for the comic in question in the end. But yeah, I remember that there was this like a spiel of like people coming in to put things straight, to correct things, to be the cool ones, the cool, witty, acerbic, nasty ones that will go to whatever comic they feel like antagonizing, because that's what they were doing, and troll comment underneath. But then if they got the same underneath their comic, they would whine a little bit or a lot. Like, how dare you like that? When I was sick when I was making this page, and it is awesome because I did it like with 3 fingers only and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a season.
Yes, critics can very rarely take their own medicine. That's part of it. Well, I mean, and we did sort of bring up a thing, at least in the video, that did I talk about red eye reviews in the QUACKCAST or the video?
I think it was in the video, but I wouldn't I wouldn't bet my life on it. I'm not sure.
Well, I'll bring up the example of Bennett the Sage. He started out making his kind of name doing acerbic reviews, comical roasts of anime, like really bad anime, like saying, anyway, he said it was bad, and just making fun of it, making fun of the tropes and the animation style and the story and characters and all sorts of things. And it could get a bit mean at times because he'd be making fun of things that really weren't funny, or like exaggerating the badness, or saying like because he said it was bad then it must be bad, whereas in reality the thing isn't bad, but he's sort of making fun of it anyway as if it is. And that got a bit old, but he's been doing that for years and years and years, and now he's actually learned his love of what he's reviewing. So he will, talk about these animes and not be so harsh anymore. And he's actually improved as a reviewer because of that. His reviews are far more entertaining and interesting because he's not just making fun of stuff. He's actually, his love of it shows through, which is so good. And really that's the reason he's doing it. Not just to get views and to get people to come along and laugh along at this thing with him. It's to show his love of the medium, and the reason why he got into the whole thing to begin with was because he actually liked this old 80s anime and 90s anime. So it's a better thing to talk about what you love than talk about what you hate. I mean, sure, it's fantastic to criticize, and to be honest about criticism and to talk about where things can improve. That is a good, positive, useful thing. And it can be funny to talk about tropes that you don't like, and things that are a bit silly. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also really helpful to talk about where things can improve and where they've gone wrong. And to be honest about, why you're talking about, this thing you're critiquing in the first place. You should be doing it because that is something that you love. You love these things. You don't just love making fun of something. You actually love the thing that you're critiquing.
Exactly. And there's another thing. You have to accept, as an audience, as a consumer of art, that there will be things that are not for you, in the sense that you will just not like them, they will not click with you, but that does not make them bad. It just makes them not for you. That doesn't mean that they are not brilliant art, excellent webcomics, excellent storytelling and stuff. So, for example, there are certain things that are not for me. I cannot read them. Not because I do not recognize how awesome they are. The art is amazing. The story is very enticing, but I just cannot get into it. I'm not going to say what categories because I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing on those categories because I'm really not. But if, for example, it were up to me, like I was told, okay, now you gatekeep the good and the bad comics, I would not keep those comics that I cannot read out. Because if you understand and appreciate art, you will know that some art is not made to appeal to you because you are a different person, you have different personality, and you are looking for different things. You don't need to like everything to appreciate it. Like, for example, I would never hang on my wall anything by Picasso. I just don't, like, his art does not click with me at all. However, he is brilliant. He is one of the most influential artists of our time for a reason. And Guernica is like a piece of art that I often look at, although I don't like it, because it always evokes emotions in me that I think on at times. But I would never hang it on my wall. I don't want to look at it all the time. I want to look at it only when I am in the headspace for it.
It's a hideous piece of work.
It is. That's supposed to be. It's supposed to be hideous. That's what he was going for. So yeah.
Yeah, it's having that effect. Yeah, I mean, we've got to be careful about the idea of it's not for you when 'cause people can use that as a way of defending stuff that makes mistakes or whatever, doesn't do things well. They can say, but it's not for you. So we just got to be that's more of a personal decision.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I would say that the only party, let's say, in this equation that should be authorized, quote unquote, to say what something is for is the audience, in the sense that I can tell what is not for me and what isn't.
yeah.
The creator cannot and should not, because again, you get you cull parts of like avenues of communication with others.
Exactly. You can't have fans either saying, that's not for you. You don't like that? Well, it's not for you. Yeah, that's a different way of curation and gatekeeping, like you say, which is quite an awful thing. That's a shit thing to do.
And there are always like exceptions, for example, like if I was asked what kind of what genre, I would be very reluctant to go into and get into, and I never look for, is science fiction. For some reason, it doesn't click with me as much. However, one of my favorite books of all time that I still absolutely love, I loved it the first time I read it, and I still love it, and I will probably love it all my life, is a science fiction book. I have talked about it often, and it is The Gods of Foxcroft. I think it is brilliant. It is amazing. I love it. It is science fiction. Yeah, you cannot say that, oh, this is not for you because you have said in general that you don't like science fiction, for example. Like, what you should do is say, well, give this a chance. Maybe you will find something you like in it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. And again, separate constructive criticism from malicious intent. Because, for example, when you get something like Thundercats Roar, where, yeah, you get a lot of people saying, oh, it's not for you, it's for kids. But that is not the way to do it. If people say that they don't like it for X, Y, Z reasons, not I don't like it because it's bad, it's I don't like it because the style chosen does not fit the IP, or for these reasons, so on, so like things that are tangible, then that is a discussion. You can disagree and say that, oh, I really like it for X and Y, Z other reasons, but that is a discussion of taste.
Yeah.
It's not going for like, oh, it's not for you. It's a discussion on whether you get a good translation, a good interpretation of this particular IP, and that's all there is to it. And if people say that something is badly drawn, it might objectively be badly drawn, like have several mistakes that cannot be attributed to style, which is a very frequent defense when you get mistakes and it's like, oh, it's my style. Like, no, dude, it's not your style. You just didn't draw it right. And it happens to all of us. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, very much so. Well, we should wrap this up. We're over an hour, so
yes,
we should say goodbye and hello
Bye.
Again next week, fortunately, for QUACKCAST
yes
575. It will be a palindrome. Is that a palindrome?
5-7. Yes, it is.
Oh, thank good. Thank God. All right. Thank you very much for listening to QUACKCAST 574.
Thank you.
The
Thank
Oddball
you.
Cast. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.